They say aging is inevitable. But what if I told you it's not? Right now, behind closed laboratory doors, scientists are not just studying aging, they're slowing it down. A hidden switch inside your body, a tiny protein, may be the key to stopping the biological clock. Harvard researchers have already reversed aging in mice. Some scientists even claim the first person who will live to 150 is already alive today. And here's the real twist: they know what to eat, what to avoid, and what activates the body's built-in repair mode. Not in some distant future. Now, but if this is real, why haven't you heard about it? And why do some scientists want to keep it that way? For most of human history, aging was a mystery, something we simply accepted. Wrinkles, fatigue, memory loss, these were seen as the natural cost of time. But today, something is shifting. In laboratories from Boston to Tokyo, researchers are beginning to see aging not as an unchangeable fate, but as a disease, a process. One that, like any disease, might be slowed or even reversed. Modern science now understands aging at the cellular level. We know that our DNA accumulates damage, our mitochondria lose energy, and something called senescence causes cells to stop dividing and start poisoning their neighbors. In the past, we could only treat the symptoms, give painkillers, replace joints, manage blood pressure. But now, we are targeting the cause. And here's the part that's hard to believe: the tools are already here. Anti-aging isn't science fiction anymore, it's science. From fasting mimicking diets, to ND boosters, to compounds like rapamycin and spermidine, once obscure molecules are now the subject of billion-dollar research. Even tech giants like Google and Jeff Bezos are funding longevity labs. But in everyday life, little has changed. Hospitals are still crowded. Most people still age the old-fashioned way, slowly, painfully, powerlessly. So why, with all this knowledge, does aging still seem inevitable? Is it because the science isn't ready? Or because someone doesn't want us to know? That is where the real story begins. The story of anti-aging science began not with billionaires or futuristic labs, but with a quiet discovery in the 1960s. Dr. Leonard Hayflick, a young scientist at the Wista Institute, noticed something strange: human cells in a petri dish didn't divide forever. After about 50 cycles, they simply stopped. This became known as the Hayflick limit, and it changed everything. Suddenly, aging wasn't just about time, it was about biology. And biology, as we now know, can be manipulated. In the decades that followed, scientists identified the key players behind aging: damaged DNA, shortened telomeres, toxic proteins, and the silent inflammation that slowly burns inside our bodies with each passing year. One by one, the puzzle pieces began to fall into place. But something darker emerged too. For every breakthrough, there were questions science couldn't answer or chose not to. Why did certain substances, like rapamycin, originally used to prevent organ rejection, seem to extend life in mice? Why did caloric restriction drastically slow aging, but no one wanted to promote it publicly? And why do some of the most promising compounds never make it to market or vanish into private labs funded by tech empires? The deeper researchers dug into the roots of aging, the more complex and dangerous the future began to look. Because if aging is a switch, what happens if the wrong people control it? Or worse, if only a few ever get access? The science is real. The possibilities are vast. But the clock is ticking, and most of the world still has no idea what's coming. Every second, around 50 million of your cells die and are replaced. That process, cell turnover, is the engine of life. But as we age, that engine slows down until it sputters, breaks, and one day stops for good. Aging isn't just about getting old. It's about losing function, the slow collapse of the immune system, memory, muscles, vision, digestion, everything. After age 60, your risk of chronic disease doubles every 5 years. Heart failure, cancer, Alzheimer's, these aren't separate problems. They're symptoms of the same core issue: biological aging. The World Health Organization now classifies aging as the biggest risk factor for death worldwide. Not genetics, not accidents, just time. But here's the paradox: we now have more scientific knowledge about aging than ever before, yet we're doing almost nothing with it. Less than 1% of global medical funding goes to anti-aging research. Meanwhile, the average American spends the last 10 years of life in declining health. That's a decade of pain, pills, and lost independence. And what's even more unsettling, the people funding longevity are not sharing what they find. Private clinics in Switzerland are already offering blood transfusions from young donors. Quiet biotech startups in California are testing gene editing therapies on the ultra-rich. It's real. It's happening. And it's not in the news. Because if aging becomes optional, who gets to opt out? You? Or only those who can afford the price of a small country? The science is no longer the problem. Access is. And the question isn't, can we stop aging? It's, will you be allowed to? Here's something most people have never heard. Aging isn't just something that happens to you. It's something your body is told to do. Deep inside your cells, tiny molecules act like timekeepers, monitoring damage, stress, and energy use. And when they decide you've had enough, they begin shutting things down. One of the most powerful of these is called mTOR, the master switch for growth and repair. When you're young, mTOR is active, building muscle, healing wounds. But when it stays on too long, it becomes toxic. It fuels inflammation, accelerates cell damage, and locks your body into a state of silent breakdown. Here's the twist. Scientists have learned to manipulate mTOR using natural fasting, certain nutrients, and a drug called rapamycin. In mice, it extends life by up to 60%. It delays cancer. It restores immune function. And yet, it's not approved for aging in humans. Not because it doesn't work, but because aging is not officially considered a treatable condition. Let that sink in. We have the tools to delay aging, but legally, no one is allowed to offer them. Even more disturbing, studies show that stopping aging might require short-term stress on the body, fasting, cold exposure, nutrient cycling. It goes against everything we've been told about comfort and wellness. But maybe that's the point. Maybe aging is the result of too much ease, too much abundance, too much routine. What if the secret to living longer isn't a new pill, but returning to how we were built to live? Would you be willing to make yourself uncomfortable if it meant living another 20 healthy years? Today, scientists aren't just studying aging, they're engineering ways to control it. One of the most promising discoveries is cellular reprogramming, a process that allows old cells to return to a younger, more functional state. In 2020, researchers at Harvard used a gene therapy cocktail to restore vision in blind mice by literally reversing the age of their eye cells. Not slowing, reversing. Other studies target ND+, a molecule that declines as we age. It fuels DNA repair and energy production. Boosting ND levels in older animals has been shown to restore muscle strength, improve memory, and even repair damaged organs. Companies are now racing to create safe, oral versions of these boosters for humans. At the same time, senolytics, drugs that remove zombie cells, are in clinical trials. These toxic, non-functioning cells accumulate with age and trigger inflammation. Clearing them from the body has already improved heart and lung function in older patients. Then there's epigenetic clocks, tools that can measure your real biological age, not just the number on your ID. These clocks are becoming so accurate, they can predict lifespan better than cholesterol or blood pressure. All of this is happening right now. Not in science fiction, not in 50 years, today. So why is the average person still unaware? Why do we still treat aging like a curse, instead of a challenge we can solve? The truth is, aging is no longer a mystery. It's a code, and we're finally learning how to crack it. But who gets to use the key, and who's left waiting? For every miracle science delivers, there's a price. And when it comes to aging, the price may be higher than we're ready to admit. Some scientists warn that interfering with aging could lead to unintended consequences. What happens when old, damaged cells are forced to regenerate? Could we accidentally trigger uncontrolled growth, like cancer? Others raise ethical concerns. If only the rich can afford these therapies, do we create a new class, not of wealth, but of time? A world where some live to 120, while others still die at 70, simply because they couldn't pay? And then there's the philosophical question. If we remove death as a natural boundary, do we lose what makes life meaningful? Some researchers fear that extreme lifespan extension could lead to stagnation, politically, socially, even emotionally. Imagine a world where leaders never retire, where change is slowed, not by resistance, but by biology. And yet, The other side argues we already face these questions. Aging is not romantic. It's suffering, pain, loss of identity. Is it moral to preserve that suffering just because we're afraid of the unknown? Some bioethicists believe slowing aging is not just possible, it's a moral imperative. Because every day we delay progress, more people die of age-related diseases. Still, behind closed doors, a quiet race continues. Governments deny. Corporations invest. The public remains unaware. The science is moving forward, but the human heart still hesitates. So the question is no longer can we do this? It's should we? And if we say yes, who decides what the limit of a human life should be? Imagine a world divided not by borders or money, but by years, where one group, enhanced, preserved, optimized, continues to thrive into their 110s, while others weaken, fade, and disappear. Not because they lacked intelligence, but because they lacked access. That world is no longer fiction, it's beginning now. As longevity therapies move forward in private labs and elite clinics, the gap between those who age and those who don't will grow wider. Economies will shift. Retirement will become meaningless. Entire generations may find themselves locked out of the workforce, or worse, dependent on the mercy of those who no longer age. Healthcare systems, already strained, could collapse under the weight of extended lifespans without extended health spans. The planet itself would feel the pressure. More people living longer means more consumption, more waste, more inequality. And perhaps the most unsettling idea, what if those who live longer begin to see themselves as a new species? A post-aging class, not bound by the same rules, responsibilities, or empathy. We may face a new kind of evolution, not through nature, but through labs. A quiet, irreversible shift in what it means to be human. And yet, most of the world is not ready. Because aging is not just personal, it's political, economic, existential. The moment we unlock the power to stop it is the moment we must ask, who do we become once death is no longer part of the plan? The science is here. The knowledge exists. For the first time in human history, we are standing at the edge of a biological revolution, one that could erase aging as we know it. But with that power comes a question that no lab can answer. Should we use it? Because this isn't just a medical decision. It's a philosophical one, a moral one. If we choose to stop aging, we must also choose what it means to live. Will longer lives make us wiser or more afraid to take risks? Will we become more compassionate or more selfish in our pursuit of endless time? If only a few have access, will we tolerate a new kind of inequality, not of money, but of mortality? And if we all live longer, what kind of world are we building to live in? We can't afford to look away. This is not a future problem. It is now. Every discovery brings us closer to a choice we cannot undo. Humanity has always evolved through challenge. Fire, medicine, space, now aging itself. But not every step forward is progress, and not every answer is safe. The clock is no longer our enemy. We are. Because in the end, the real question isn't, can we stop aging? They told us aging was natural, that it was part of life, that nothing could be done. But now you know, that was never the full story. Aging is a process, and processes can be paused, sometimes even reversed. That means your future, your time, may be more flexible than you were ever told. And yet, as I sit here sharing this with you, I'm not excited. I'm uneasy. Because if these discoveries are real, and they are, then why are they still hidden in private trials and elite labs? Why aren't we having this conversation on the news, at the dinner table, in our doctor's office? Maybe it's because the truth is too uncomfortable. Maybe it's because most people still think it's too late for them. But I don't believe that. Not for a second. If you're watching this, it's not too late. Your cells are still listening. Your body still wants to survive. And your mind, your curiosity, is proof you're still evolving. This story isn't about some distant future. It's about your body, your time, and the silent war being fought over how long you get to keep both. So now, let me ask you, if there really were a way to slow down your aging, would you want to know? Would you try it? Or would you be too afraid of what comes after? Tell me in the comments, honestly. Because maybe, just maybe, the first person who truly stops aging is already listening.